This cocktail is a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma, consisting of tantalizing ingredients including gin, vodka, creme de menthe, and a hidden alcohol we'll uncover later. This liquid refresher is like a good conspiracy theory, both mysterious and unforgettable. Welcome to the bar, where we make fascinating cocktails inspired by history, like this one. This otherworldly drink represents secrets and dimensions, space and time, and tastes like it should be classified and protected by men in black. So let's go behind the bar, if we dare, and make this extraterrestrial cocktail before it disappears into another dimension. This is the U.A.P, or Unidentified Alcoholic Phenomenon. Well, it's not entirely unknown or unidentified. After all, I created it, and soon you'll be able to do the same. It's inspired by the sightings of orbs, flying saucers, and visitors from another planet. Or by deep state technology being developed by the same secretive government agencies that brought us the Air Force's unmanned space plane named X-37B. Is it one or the other? Or both or neither? We're not sure, but that's where the fun begins. Imagine you're a consultant working on a gig for the government. You're smart, you've graduated from highly touted schools, you have specialized skills, and your employer needs you for an important task. You're flown to a remote location in Nevada, which appears to be an aircraft hangar built into the side of a mountain. Once inside the structure, you follow your superiors down a hall into what opens up into a large hangar, where before you lie 3 craft, flying machines like you've never seen before. One looks like a top hat. Another one looks like a jello mold, and the third looks sleek and sporty. You've been tasked to back engineer technology you've never seen before. Inside the small sporty craft lie 3 small seats, so small they seem to be designed for children. In the center is technology that defies explanation, but somehow, at one time, this craft could levitate and move about the skies. But that isn't even the most baffling thought rattling around your mind. As you breathe in the dry Nevada air, you wonder, how did this craft get here? And if I've been tasked to back engineer it, well then, who built it in the first place? And it's the connection to secret hangars that brings us to our first ingredient, aviation gin. Now, aviation gin is one of my favorite gins because it's relatively smooth, not too junipery or botanical in any way. It's very balanced, which makes it an excellent mixer in a lot of gin heavy drinks. You can have other gins that may be a little bit more bold in flavor, but when you want something that's nice and balanced, especially playing with other bold flavors, this is a great gin to go with. So for our drink, we're gonna end up putting in a ½ ounce. As we get closer to our drink, we're gonna put in all of our ingredients at once, but for now, we're just going to introduce our alcohol here. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, the Iron Curtain fell, and for the first time in 40 years, the world felt safe. No more Cold War, no impending global destruction. The world was nice and safe. And we hate that. Comfort makes us lazy. So people needed a new mystery, a new threat to fill their time. And you know what? It turns out that UFOs, Area 51, and alien visitors were just the thing to fill that void. The X-Files, a show that follows 2 FBI agents uncovering a massive UFO conspiracy, topped the ratings. And it was during this time that the legend of Bob Lazar began. The man who claims to have lived the story I just shared, called to back engineer a sleek flying saucer he called the Sport Model. But how did it work? According to Lazar, this flying saucer was powered by antimatter and would glow a blue light underneath when activated. The craft used element 115, which doesn't exist naturally on Earth, to generate gravity fields. Gravity was its form of propulsion, or more accurately, its form of attraction. You see, instead of pushing from one spot to another like a rocket, instead, this craft could generate and focus gravity to a single point in space and then pull the craft there in an instant. Now, under normal circumstances, this would kill any humans inside, but the same force that propelled or attracted the craft also protected it. A heart-shaped gravity field surrounds the craft on all sides, protecting the inhabitants inside from the craft's movements, no matter how extreme. Man, I wish I had that technology in my car. I'm like a U.A.P on the road, darting in and out, bending the laws of nature and physics to get where I want, like through Tampa at rush hour, or for girls standing in line at the ladies' restroom for a Taylor Swift concert. Lazar's claims about the sports model were amazing, but that was just the beginning. And it's the potential alien nature of this cocktail that brings us to our next ingredient, outer space vodka. Outer Space Vodka is a phenomenal vodka. It's one of the most unique things I've ever seen. It has a really, really cool bottle. It's actually from France, so it's distilled 5 times from French grain. And what they do is that they actually filter it through meteorite, or at least that's what they claim, which just makes this one of the most unique looking and tasting vodkas that I've ever had. It's exceptionally smooth, and I think is going to make a fantastic otherworldly addition to our extraterrestrial cocktail. So when we put it into our cocktail and assemble everything together, we're going to put in a ½ ounce. Bob Lazar's story about this craft and where it was located makes him either one of the United States' greatest whistleblowers, one of its most audacious frauds, or a little of both. Either way, his claims are the source of some of the most interesting conspiracy theories out there. Conspiracy theories are normally created by people with too much time, paranoia, and imagination on their hands. But it doesn't make them wrong. Heck, today, doesn't it feel like some conspiracy theories are just the future 6 months from now? But just because we live in crazy times doesn't mean we need to lose our sanity. After all, history is full of wacky stories that border on the impossible. But many of them are also true, and that's why I love making cocktails inspired by them. You see, conspiracy theories are like good jokes. They stick around because they usually have a little bit of truth in them. And truth, like a U.A.P, can be hard to spot. Hey, come here. Soon after telling his story, Lazar brought some of his friends to the outskirts of Area 51, one of the bases that were supposed to have back-engineered alien technology. Looking up at the night sky, Lazar and his friends watched craft move about in crazy fashion. Word got out and a lot more people came to Area 51 to see the same thing, leading the base to extend the protected space around it. Why? Were they hiding alien craft? Maybe. Or maybe it was due to national security. Those who have worked on the original versions of the stealth jets at the base have come forward to share their experiences. One of those projects included the now famous B-2 bomber, which is in the shape of a triangle. During test flights in the sky, these craft would have looked like nothing anyone had seen before. Because they hadn't. So, were Lazar and his friends watching back-engineered alien technology in the sky? Or the next stealth fighter? Or drones before they became mainstream? Only time will tell. And that brings us to our next ingredient, the deliciously cloudy and alien-looking in color creme de menthe. Now this is Driade Green Mint Creme de Menthe. It comes from France. It's very syrupy and sweet, but it is delicious. As far as flavored liqueurs, I really like Driade. They're normally less expensive, ranging anywhere from 15 to 20 bucks depending on where you live, and they add a tremendous amount of flavor and they're really high quality too. For our cocktail, we're gonna put in 1 ounce because we want that alien green color to really make a significant transition in the vision of our cocktail, while at the same time adding some significant flavor that's gonna make this delicious. Lazar tapped into the often ridiculed public belief that aliens are visiting our planet. But for centuries, people have seen strange lights in the sky. alien craft moving in ways that seemed impossible. Some have even claimed to have been taken for experimentation. Or worse, much worse. Think of an aggressive proctologist with a sketchy degree from an online university in Somalia, which was funded by a Nigerian prince whose medical practice is from out of town. Way out of town, like light years out of town. Then double it, multiply it by 100, and add 7. Yeah, it's like that. And what did people get when they came forward with such claims? Mockery, intimidation, military personnel showing up at their door suggesting what they had seen was just a weather balloon, men dressed only in black threatening them into silence. Full truth, half-truths, straight up lies. Some people want them hidden at all costs. And it's secrecy that inspired our next ingredient. Now, with all UFO conspiracies and government secrets, not everything is shared with the public, but for our cocktail, we're going to have to bring this alcohol into the light. Dough ball? Cookie dough whiskey? What sort of conspiracy is going on here? I think I could make it work. For this cocktail, let's throw in an ounce and see what happens. Bob Lazar can be called many things, both good and bad. His claims, both professionally and academically, were difficult to prove before the internet existed, and his skeptics aren't too keen as keeping them as truth considering how ambiguous they are. For example, he claims to have graduated from MIT, but they have no record of him and he can't name a single professor who taught him there. He also claims to have worked at Los Alamos National Laboratory. They deny it, but his name does show up on their phone book during the time that he had worked there. It's kind of like how I claim to be a mixologist who makes cocktails inspired by history, but that's just a conspiracy. Well, actually, for a conspiracy to exist, 2 or more people have to be involved, which means you're in this as deep as I am. So if you see 2 agents, men dressed in black, showing up on your ring, don't answer it. Tell them you're at the proctologist's, getting probed by someone of a legitimate medical profession. Take me to your leader. That's me. Hi, if you guys like our historically inspired cocktails but don't want your taste buds to suffer all of the many failed attempts it took to achieve any greatness in taste or flavor or composition at all, or you just don't like reading the books that inspired them, then subscribe and let me do the work for you. Hey, can you guys go to the liquor store for me? No. Please? Okay. Bob Lazar's story epitomizes what fed the UFO fervor of the late 20th century. His tales of otherworldly craft combined with his cloudy background fed into the world's imagination of both government cover-ups and alien visitors coming to our planet. In many ways, Bob Lazar was the perfect symbol of UFO hysteria. But what if it were all a lie? We'll never know. To Lazar's credit, his story really hasn't changed over the past 30 years, and it doesn't appear that he's trying to cash in on his fame. In many ways, his claims have actually hurt him far more than have helped him. And Lazar's original goal of sharing these stories in order to force the government to share their findings with the scientific community remains unrealized. And that brings us to our final ingredient, heavy cream. Because the weight of breaking out such a conspiracy theory weighs heavy on the shoulders of Bob Lazar, and so for our drink, I think it's only appropriate that we add in our heavy cream. For our drink, we're going to end up putting in 2 ounces, and we're just about at the point where we're going to put this all together. A lot has changed since Lazar first became a hero of the UFO community. Recent footage from the United States government has, for the first time, validated technology exists that may be otherworldly. Skeptics claim that it's a massive disinformation campaign to either let our foes know that we have this technology at our disposal, or that someone else does and we want the world keeping watch. Who's telling the truth? Which one is it? Who knows? I guess nothing much has changed since Bob Lazar first broke into the spotlight 3 decades ago. Only that UFOs are now called U.A.Ps. Just like our cocktail. So let's make our cocktail and give it a taste. All right, guys. So to assemble our cocktail, just like I said before, we're going to put out our shaker and we're going to throw in some ice. considering the fact that we're going to be adding heavy cream, the ice is going to be very necessary in order to keep it from separating and curdling. If you ever have an Irish car bomb, for example, you'll notice that the Bailey's Irish Cream normally curdles in the more acidic beer. To prevent that from happening, introducing cold and shaking it should keep everything nice and cogent. So first we're going to put in, like I said before, a ½ ounce of aviation gin. And pour that on out. It's going to add some nice botanical flavor. Then we're going to follow that up with our outer space vodka. And when I tried this before, I got to tell you guys, this is one of the smoothest vodkas I've ever had. And it's not that expensive too, usually around 40 bucks. Has a very citrusy smell as well. So we put in a ½ ounce of vodka as well because we already have a decent amount of alcohol going in here. We don't need to go overboard on the clears. Next, we're going to put in 1 ounce of Driade Green Mint Creme de Menthe. You want the green creme de menthe for color here, but white creme de menthe would also work. It just will look white. So we'll put in a full ounce of that. Pour that on in. And this is really going to give us the alien color, because when I was thinking about making this cocktail, I kept thinking about little green men. You know, that's all we ever heard with these alien conspiracies, is that I saw little green men or gray men. But I think green is a prettier color and it feels a little bit more alien, so I'm gonna go with that. Next, we're gonna throw in 1 ounce of our dough ball cookie dough whiskey. And initially smelling this, it really does smell like cookie dough. It's like cookie dough aged in whiskey barrels. That's all it smells like. And it has wonderfully sweet flavor, and it's gonna go really, really well with our mint. There we go. And then finally, we're gonna put in 2 whole ounces of heavy whipping cream. Now, mind you, if your cream has been sitting in the fridge, make sure you shake it up because it'll start to separate in the box already. So to make sure that you don't have any curdles, we wanna shake it up just a bit. And then we're gonna throw in 2 full ounces. Now, another option you can do too to make sure that this doesn't separate is that you can take the spring from your strainer and you can throw it in there as well. It acts almost like a blender and is able to make sure that everything stays together. And when I'm talking about that, I am talking about my strainer that isn't here. So, oh, no, never mind. Here it is, I found it. So if you just take this spring and then you slide it out, you'll be able to take out the full thing and then drop it in there, and then you can start shaking. But with ice, you also don't necessarily need to do this. So I'm gonna put this like that, and then we're going to give this a good shake, about 40 shakes or so. Beautiful. Now I'm going to grab my garnish in just a sec, and then we're gonna pour this out. Now, let's assemble our U.A.P and see if this thing's gonna fly. Beautiful. Doesn't that look alien in and of itself? It also looks a lot like mint chocolate chip ice cream, but it looks fantastic. That wonderful green alien color, and it's only going to be finished with its own little U.A.P. So let's stick that on there ever so carefully. This is a delicate cookie that we actually spray painted with the edible silver spray paint. Very interesting stuff. A little expensive, but totally worth it. And there you have it, the U.A.P. It looks fantastic, but let's see if it tastes as good as it looks, and let's see if it actually takes us to another dimension. Oh my goodness. That is dessert in a glass. It is almost alien in how good that tastes. It's so good, it's otherworldly. Essentially, this really does taste like if you combined cookie dough ice cream and mint chocolate chip ice cream and combined it into a single glass. The cookie dough whiskey and the creme de menthe are really the stars of the show here. You also have a vanilla aromatic coming off of the cookie, and that actually has a lot to do with both. It's a sugar cookie, and two, I actually think there's some vanilla aromatics in the edible spray paint that we used. The vodka and the gin come through ever so slightly on the back end. It adds a nice little warming burn with it, but it's cooled down by that cream. Subtle flavors of fruitiness from the gin, some brightness from the vodka, but these two are the stars. This really just does taste like ice cream in a glass. It's been a little bit melted, but it is delectable, it's delightful, and it's otherworldly, guys. This is an extraterrestrial cocktail and a beautiful little U.A.P. Delicious. Like any good mystery, the existence of U.A.Ps, alien tech, men in black, and recently released government footage means this tale isn't going anywhere. So experience this tale through your taste buds and have yourself a U.A.P, because after all, history is better with a drink. Cheers.